All right, big breaking news coming in. Israel has launched a preemptive strike against Iran to confront imminent threats to the state, following which both sides have closed their airspace. Besides, neighboring Iraq's Erbil airport has also announced suspension of air traffic. Defense Minister Israel Katz has declared a special nationwide state of emergency, warning that a missile and drone attack on Israel's civilian population is expected imminently. Israel's military said it had protectively sounded air raid sirens in areas across the country to prepare the public for the possibility of missiles being launched towards Israel in retaliation. So big news coming in. Israel has launched a preemptive attack on Iran. Defense Minister Israel Katz says he declared an immediate state of emergency throughout the entire country. The state of Israel has launched a preemptive strike against Iran to remove threats to the state of Israel, he said. And sirens sound across Israel as the IDF Home Front Command warns civilians to stay close to the bomb shelter. Also, Iran's Supreme Leader Khamenei is not in Tehran. He has been transferred to a secure location, according to reports. Further, Israeli defense officials have said that Israeli operation in Iran has been in coordination with the US. The official added that the operation was planned for months and launch date was decided weeks ago. Further, according to Iranian media, in view of the attack, trading at the Tehran Stock Exchange has been suspended. So according to Israeli defense official, Israeli operation in Iran was coordinated with the US. Also news coming in that US Embassy in Qatar implements shelter in place for all personnel. Like we said, Iran's Supreme Leader Khamenei is not in Tehran. He has been transferred to a secure location. So big news that we are tracking in. Israel has launched a preemptive strike on Iran. Defense Minister Israel Katz says he declared an immediate state of emergency throughout the entire country. And the state of Israel has launched a preemptive strike against Iran to remove threats to the state of Israel. That's what he said. And sirens sound across Israel as the IDF Home Front Command warns civilians to stay close to the bomb shelters. Israel has closed its airspace, and the message says that due to the security situation, civilians should ensure they know what the optimal protected shelter near them is and avoid any non-essential travel. And the IDF says the proactive alert is intended to prepare the public for the possibility of missile fire towards the territory. And the army says that as of now, there is no need to enter the shelters. All right, we'll show you a statement on X. In fact, the post on X, and it was in fact posted at 11:55 a.m. Indian Standard Time. So this is the post following a situational assessment. It was determined that as of today, that is Saturday at 0800, immediate changes will be made to the Home Front Command guidelines. As part of the changes, it was decided to shift all areas of the country from full activity to essential activity. The guidelines include a prohibition on educational activities, gatherings and workplaces except for essential sectors. The public is required to follow the guidelines published on the official Home Front Command channels. Full guidelines will be updated on the National Emergency Portal and the Home Front Command app. So we'll get to know the scale and targets of Israel's preemptive strike. limited tactical operation at the beginning of a broader military campaign. But yes, this is big that Israel has in fact launched a preemptive attack on Iran. Katz says he declared an immediate state of emergency throughout the entire country. Airspace has been shut, it has been closed, and sirens sound across Israel as the IDF Home Front Command warns civilians to stay close to the shelters, in fact, stay close to the bomb shelters. And the message reads out that due to the security situation, civilians should ensure that they know what the optimal protected shelter near them is and avoid any non-essential travel. All right, DD India's Jessica Taneja joins us to get us the latest. Jessica, can you confirm the scale and targets of Israel's preemptive strike?
Well, the update so far is, of course, a lot of embassies are being asked to let go of their staff from the premises, and there are reports here and there coming in that there could be, of course, you saw the statement from the Israeli Defense Forces. The IDF has also put out a statement cautioning people as well. But if you see the evolving situation we are in, there are multiple reports right now on social media and otherwise, not giving a very clear picture as to what's happening apart from what we've heard from the IDF so far. But tensions have been, prevalent in the relationship for quite some time now. And you'd recall just last month you had the announcement that the Americans would have the biggest armada that would sort of be in the Persian Gulf, and that has been the case from the likes of USS Abraham Lincoln with its other warships accompanying it, along with, if you see, the USS Gerald Ford as well. So there's quite a lot of military buildup, so to say, in the region. And there were talks also ongoing between the Iranian side and the American side. You saw the recent attempts at talks between Iranian side, which was represented by Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, and the American side, of course, represented by Donald Trump's special envoy to West Asia, Steve Witkoff, along with Jared Kushner. In those moments, Oman had stepped in to mediate first, but then the talks were shifted to Geneva. And there you also heard from the Omani foreign minister, who said, he spoke to the US media and he said that it's still possible that if negotiators are given enough space to close remaining gaps, perhaps things could be moving forward. But there are also talks which are expected to resume in Vienna next week. But all of that currently understood as what is evolving and ongoing, and no current assessment of the level of predictability here, given how this entire region has seen flare-ups in the recent past. In June last year, you had Operation Midnight Hammer that the American forces conducted in the wee hours of the night, bringing in B-2 bunker buster bombers to completely obliterate, according to the American Defense Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, in a sense where all the nuclear facilities were completely obliterated the last time around, and with the presence of the International Atomic Energy Agency chiefs as well, where there was no further inspection done on the site as to what the real assessment is. Because at the heart of this issue, Abhishek, is the negotiation that still doesn't seem to have gained that momentum, which is American side insisting that the Iranians give up their nuclear program, stop enriching uranium, stop supporting the proxies, both Hezbollah and the Houthis, who have created quite a lot of trouble. The Houthis, of course, in the Red Sea, constant threats of attack to oil tankers being carried by the Americans. On the other side, you have the Hezbollah, which has given a lot of trouble in Lebanon to not just the Israeli forces, but also the American. You see the rampant military strikes, and that has been heightened there as well. So, all in all, this is leading to wider security concerns just beyond the region, because if you look at the American bases and Air Force bases that have been spread across the entire region, with the consensus of those countries especially the West Asian countries, that America has had some kind of understanding in the past, from Abraham Accords to Donald Trump first making his official visit to these Arab nations was quite significant moment in itself, and spoke of how important the ties are between those two, partnerships. So, given all of that and context in place, it is still very uncertain of what these strikes would mean. So, are they limited military strikes, which would then go on to target only nuclear facilities, as is the claim and the aim of the American forces and the Israeli demands simultaneously? Or will it be a wider escalation where the Iranian missile facilities, their air defense systems will also be targeted? So we'll have to wait and see on how this evolves, really.
Exactly, but you've been following the tensions in West Asia, Jessica. What do you make of this? Are these limited tactical operations, or you think it is the beginning of a broader military campaign?
Well, it is, of course, very uncertain at this point to say whether this is an attempt of a limited military strike, or is this akin to some wider crackdown that the American and the Israeli forces have planned. Of course, there's a lot of assessment out there to see who has the military strength and the might to take down the other. But you'd recall from the past as well, there have been instances where the Iron Dome has been able to thwart all of those missiles, been able to defend those missiles, while a couple of those Iranian missiles, the Fatah 1 and the Fatah 2, falling out of the ambit. That's 1 in 100 case. Of course, you remember that missile fire exchange. So it's quite uncertain. There could be 100 missiles, being fired from across, but it still remains to be seen as to what the exact aim of the operation is, and it's quite difficult at this time to make that exact assessment, because we don't know to what extent is the American ambition when it comes to keeping in mind their security concerns in the region. While one would like to focus on diplomacy and dialogue, that is what the Iranian side has been attempting for a very long time. And if you look at what the Americans are insisting as well, they're saying that we're giving the chance to the Iranians to come on the table or else be capitulated. These were also some of the statements that came out, to which the Iranian Foreign Minister Raza Bagchi said, we will not be capitulated, we'll be anything but capitulated. So that is quite a lot of exchange of words as well, which brings more predictability on the table than a clarified understanding of what the two sides are heading towards.
Also, Jessica, Israel has declared a nationwide emergency. Also tell us, what does this mean for the civilians on the ground?
Well, they've seen such emergencies being declared in the past as well. Since October 7, 2023, things have not been same for Israeli citizens. Of course, there are bunkers they can go to and seek, safety and shelter. But at this point, I think it's more or less kind of a common understanding, so to say, with the tensions given in the region, that these advisories or these safety mechanisms would be put out in place for those citizens. As Israel does, it's quite well prepared to defend anything and everything that comes its way. But with the Iranian side not giving up too much, because from the recent talks, what we've been able to gather is the Iranian side says they will not give up their nuclear program because and they will not stop enriching uranium, which was the primary demand, so to say, both from the Israelis and the Americans. But for the Iranians, a heavily sanctioned country with massive economic woes. You saw the protests starting January, late January, and people that took to the streets from Grand Bazaar in Tehran to a lot of cities around Tehran, and people visibly upset with not being able to put food on the table. So those are the kind of issues as well. But if you look at how this goes beyond the current situation we're seeing, again, as I said, it's almost as uncertain.
Also, Jessica, we are getting this information that Israeli media has reported that a US-Israeli joint attack is underway on Iran, and several rounds of negotiations, of course, have taken place, the last of which was just 2 days ago. Then the Omani foreign minister, who was the chief negotiator in those indirect talks between the US and Iran, went to Washington and spoke with the US Vice President Jerry Vance just in the past 12 hours, hoping that his efforts could avert a confrontation. And Khamenei's residence in Tehran has been destroyed. And in fact, Jessica, US official confirms that US strikes on Iran are underway. Jessica?
Well, yes, that confirmation has come in. As I'm seeing the reports, I'm sorry, I haven't been able to see that confirmation coming in. But to give our viewers a bit of perspective, this is a joint military exercise with the Israelis, and it'll be some time where we'll be able to tell as to which other Arab nations have joined in for this particular military operation that is now underway in Iran. And with a lot of media reports coming in, unverified, of course, to caution our viewers about the multiple sources of information available right now on the internet that could potentially lead to very misleading factual analysis. Just to put our viewers in perspective, and we'll quote all the agencies that have been putting out those updates yet. What we do know, there have been explosions, of course, also heard in various parts of Iran, all unverified at this point. But this is what we're gathering from multiple sources on the ground right now who are giving timely updates. And also the Iran's National Security Committee also is going to look at this very carefully. A lot of misleading reports about the supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Khamenei, not being there are also not true or verified at this point. So caution our viewers on that as well. But as is understood from both the
Jessica,
Israeli side and the Iranian side, there are bombings and explosions that continue.
Meanwhile, Akhilesh Suman, DD India correspondent, also joins us. Akhilesh, tell us what has transpired between Iran and Israel in the last few hours. Tell us, for the benefit of our viewers, what has transpired between Iran and Israel in the last few hours.
Actually, everyone was expecting that some solution might be coming because, talks were going on between Iran and USA and Oman was mediating. And Oman has given a statement that Iran is ready to remove all the enriched uranium. So everyone was thinking that, yes, now it is a rapprochement between US and Iran, and Israel will also seek silence. But in the meantime, we heard that, there is a pre-strike and there is preemptive strike, as Iranian defense forces are telling that there is preemptive strike because Israel was expecting that something might be happening from the Iranian side, some attack might be happening from Iranian side. So this is a preemptive strike, and when you do a preemptive strike, you get a logic that yes, since our nation is in danger, so we are doing this strike. So we are stunned. Everyone is stunned that all of a sudden it has happened amidst the talks were ongoing. But anyway, it has happened, and we are getting from our sources that there have been many blasts in Tehran. No confirmation is coming that whether any leader has been affected from that strike or not. But there has been many bombings in Tehran city, and Tehran has also now closed all the airspace coming for all the civilians. So Israel has also done the same. So I think that both the nations are in a situation of war. Let us see that how it pans up, because there has been no statement from US side authentically and authoritatively that whether US is part of it or not. But it seems that it might be happening as US must have given some green signal to Israel to do something because amidst this talks going on, Israel cannot do on its own. So let us wait and watch that what statements are coming from the US. Everyone is waiting for that. If it is from a joint operation, then it will be lasting for some more time. But if it is just from Israeli side, I think that US may intervene to take the talks forward again.
Yes, Akhilesh, in fact, we are receiving multiple reports of joint US-Israeli strikes. Tell us what, in fact, has officially confirmed by Washington and Tel Aviv at this stage.
Yeah, that is what I was telling, that we are also trying to screen all our sources, but there is no authoritative statement from US side. US is not telling anything that we are in joint operation, though we are getting on some media website that it is a joint strike of US and Israel.
All right, Akhilesh, we'll come back to you. So on your screens, we are showing you the advisory issued by the Embassy of India in Tel Aviv. So I'll read it out. In view of the prevailing security situation in the region, all Indian nationals in Israel are advised to exercise utmost caution and remain vigilant at all times. Indian nationals are strongly advised to strictly adhere to the safety guidelines and instructions issued by the Israeli authorities and the Home Front Command. So this is the advisory issued by the Embassy of India in Tel Aviv. Yes, Akhilesh, what more information you can give us on the advisory issued by the Embassy of India in Tel Aviv?
You must have seen that 2 days earlier, Embassy of India in Iran, it was advisory and telling all Indians who are present there in Iran to take all possible means to leave from Tehran and from Iran. So I think India was having an inkling that there might be some conflict between Iran and Israel, or maybe in US also. So that is why Indian Embassy in Tehran has done this earlier. Now Indian Embassy in Israel is also doing the same thing. So it's really very important for all Indians are either in Israel or in Iran to take shelters at places where they are safe. They have been advised much earlier that they should not go in areas where protests are going in Iran. So the same thing is happening in Israel, as the preemptive strike has taken place from the Israeli side inside Tehran. So I think Tehran is also expecting something that might coming from Iranian side, and that is why Indians are cautioned not to get out of their houses, take all possible precautions, and be in touch with Indian Embassy in Israel.
Also, Akhilesh, talking about a little bit of background, several rounds of indirect negotiations reportedly took place in the recent days. What do we know about these efforts between the countries? I mean, US and Iran were talking, Israel also. Why they may not have succeeded?
Actually, the whole world was having an eye on what is happening between US and Iran, because US for a long time was cautioning Iran that do 0% enrichment and return or give all the enriched uranium to US. And there were negotiations going on to what extent Iran will blink. And in that situation, Iranians were telling that we cannot give all the enriched uranium to US because it is also the question of national sovereignty. I think that in that situation, Israel was smelling some rat, and then Israel has done the preemptive strike, because amidst the talk, as I told you earlier, that Oman has given a statement just 20-25 minutes earlier that Iran has agreed on the nuclear enrichment issue. So to what extent Iran had agreed, and what were the hiccups between Iran and US on this issue, what were the modalities, it has not come out. But in between, a preemptive strike has done from the Israeli side. So I think that there must be some sort of miscommunication between Iranian and US side, and between Iranian, US and Israeli side, and that is why this preemptive strike has been launched from Israeli side. So preemptive strike is done at a time when the other party feels that in any moment the strike may come come from the other side. So I think this is a very grave situation, and in grave situation we have to keep an eye that how Iranians are responding to it and how other Gulf nations are reacting and how they are advising the Iranian side for either restraint or for retaliation. I think all the diplomatic parties are very fast among all the sides, and let us see that how things pan up in coming minutes or in hours, because it's a very grave situation for the whole Middle East, and whole Middle East is on it. Indian side is also on it. We are in touch with the NEA. They are telling that let us keep our wait and watch situation, and that is why India has issued an advisory for Indians in Israel.
Also, Akhilesh, I mean, does this action signal formal collapse of diplomatic engagement? Any talks expected, or could back-channel efforts still be underway?
We cannot take that this is a formal collapse, because sometimes it happened, as you have seen, between Iran and Israel earlier also, and between Hamas and Israel earlier also. Also, that talks and sometimes talk.
All right. Also, U.S. strikes against Iran are being carried out by air and sea. This is the latest information that we are getting. So this is big, Akhilesh. I mean, it looks like an all right. So to give us the information again, this is the big news that we are tracking. Israel has launched a preemptive strike against Iran to confront imminent threats to the state, following which both sides have closed their airspace. Besides, neighboring Iraq's Erbil airport has also announced suspension of air traffic. Explosions heard in Isfahan, Qom, Karaj and Kermanshah. And Defense Minister Israel Katz has declared a special nationwide state of emergency, warning that a missile and drone attack on Israel's civilian population is expected imminently. And Israel's military said it had protectively sounded air raid sirens in areas across the country to prepare the public for the possibility of missiles being launched towards Israel in retaliation. Jessica continues to stay with us. Jessica, U.S. official confirms that U.S. strikes on Iran are underway, and U.S. strikes against Iran being launched by air and by sea, and looks like it's an all-out war now.
Well, we'll have to wait and see on what the correct assessment of the strikes would be, but this is a preemptive strike as is now understood from the officials. But let us go back a little to a few days and how President Donald Trump had responded to questions about whether America would do a military strike on Iran. And he told a couple of American media outlets, particularly before he was taking or going on board Air Force One, when he was asked about it, he said, "You'll have the greatest coup in history." And given the kind of remarks we've seen from the president in the past, and have really materialized to that effect, but not trying to undermine as to what the situation is and what it means for the Iranian people, certainly needs a bit more consideration at this point, as many would say, because in the recent past, the kind of negotiations that were ongoing just before the strike began, which is in Geneva, from the side of the Omani foreign minister, who Badr al-Busadi, you look at his remarks, he had given an interview to CBS where he said there is a substantial progress that's being made on key U.S. demands. And now what are those key U.S. demands? Those were to completely stop enriching uranium, because the Iranian sites were suspected to have enriched uranium up to 60%, which is weapons grade. And that was one of the bigger concerns, not just to the Americans, but also for the Israelis, which had been pressing for this to be first taken up when the mediators began talks both last time in Oman and then in Geneva this week that we saw. So when you talk about what has happened or transpired in terms of trying to mediate or trying to get the attention of the American negotiators by meeting their demands to that point. You also heard from the Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, who had clarified that they will only enrich uranium 1 to 1.5%. And when President Donald Trump was asked about the Iranian side and the Omani side, making it clear that they will meet some of the American demands for the deal, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, had said that he wants no enrichment. Simple. It's not about 1%, it's not about 1.25%. He had made it very clear that it cannot be anything, because for the Iranian side, it is important for civil nuclear purposes as well, which of course is something used by many other countries and was the case. But the details become very tricky here in order to analyze what the actual intended purpose of the American and the Israeli strike would be now at Iran. One will have to only wait and see whether this is limited to just preemptive strikes, or is this more coming after this? Well, I think we'll all be in that situation soon to figure out ourselves.
All right. According to the report, 7 missiles hit area near Presidential Palace and Supreme Leader Khamenei's compound. Amrit Pal also joins us. Amrit Pal, what information do you have?
Well, what we know right now is that these preemptive strikes, which are a joint military operation both by the United States and Israel, have struck all over Iran. This is in central Iran, Qom, on its border with Iraq, also in Tehran. As you said, reports of missile strikes and drone strikes on near the compound where the Supreme Leader lives are confirmed. Also, there are some reports which say that Masoud Pezeshkian, the president, could be assassinated, or there are attempts to do that. But these are unverified reports. But yes, strikes are going on, and from multiple bases in the Middle East or in West Asia. The Americans are launching strikes from the aircraft, carrier, from the Strait of Hormuz. So that's the information we have right now, Abhishek.
Also, I was asking this question from Akhilesh also, Amrit Pal. Does this action signal a formal collapse of diplomatic engagement, or could back-channel efforts still be underway?
Right now they are in a state of, Israel has declared a state of emergency. Now strikes have been launched. What remains to be seen is how Iran retaliates to it. Getting back to the table will happen, but that will depend upon, the scale of the strikes. It looks like it is a massive operation, bigger than what we saw last year in June. It could, the strategy could be to weaken Iran to get it on the negotiating table. But that will follow, later. Right now, what is happening is an all-out strike on Iran, and both Israel and the Americans are fearing that Iran will retaliate. In fact, the Americans have issued advisories to their nationals in Qatar to be in places of shelter. We already know Israel has declared a state of emergency. Schools have been shut. All full activity has been shut. Only essential activity.
All right. There's been reaction from U.S. President Donald Trump. Also, he says short time ago, U.S. began major combat operations in Iran. So Trump has in fact posted this on social media, saying a short time ago US began major combat operations in Iran. Amrit Pal, please go on.
I was saying that diplomacy would follow later. I mean, right now it's all-out strike. The Israelis and the Americans are expecting Iran to strike back. In fact, some officials in Iran have said that the path Israel has gone down is the outcome of that is not in their hands, clearly indicating that Iran is ready to strike back. And so this operation doesn't look like a limited operation, at least as of now, but it will depend upon the scale of the operation, how and when diplomatic efforts or talks are resumed. But right now, of course, they are off the table because, it's an all-out strike, Abhishek.
Also, All right. Trump also said that our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime. So this is what Donald Trump has posted short time ago. US began major combat operations in Iran. Further went on to say that our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime. Akshay also joins us on the phone line. Akshay, what more information do you have?
Well, the information that is coming in from the Iranian media now clearly states that it's not just a particular area that has been attacked by the Israeli forces, but it's in several parts where attacks have taken place in Tehran, in the northern parts of the country, in eastern parts of the country, and the attacks have not only been limited through airstrikes, but also airstrikes as well as missiles have been launched from the sea, which means that the naval assets have also been utilized as far as the attacks are concerned by the Israeli government on the Iranian targets. But also, we have to see that the scale of retaliation that is now expected in from Iran would be of what a level, because the situation remains quite tense as far as the entire region is concerned now. We are monitoring the situation and getting information right now from the local media there in Iran that government offices, government establishments have been targeted by the Israeli strikes. So as far as the retaliation, the scale of retaliation is concerned, will also depend the further involvement of the US as well as Israel. So as of now, what we are seeing is an attack has taken place inside Iran. And now if there is a large-scale retaliation by the Iranian side, not only on Israel, but also on the US areas, US bases in that part of the region, there can be a massive and a long bloody war that will start from that point on. So the situation remains extremely crucial right now, critical right now rather, and the response of the Iranian side will determine a lot of things that will take place in the future, and how the Iranian side were ready as far as the expectations are concerned of this kind of a military strike that were there for quite some time now. So the situation remains grim. We are now hours away from, there was a press briefing that was escalated by top Hezbollah leadership in a few hours from now. However, now with the attack taking place, it remains to be seen that the way this entire situation is going to pan out, because Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran, has been moved to a secured location. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard, along with Hezbollah, maybe joining in retaliation against Israel, and Israel would be anticipating, it is anticipating a massive retaliation coming in from Iran. But if the third countries like India, like China, other major powers, if they can't stop the conflict at this point, we can expect some resolution to take place in the near future. But if the two sides are not willing to stop at this point on, we can see the region plunging into a major long war, because this was a preemptive strike that was carried out by Israel. Iran now can say that we did not attack Israel and we were attacked first. So we reserve the right to retaliate against their own national security and national sovereignty. It's all depending now on the way the countries will manage this conflict, because a resolution has to be brought in not only by the major powers but also the regional ones who will suffer the most as far as the conflict is concerned. We have seen that for the last 3 years, be it Hezbollah-Israel war, be it the Hamas conflict, the situation has been going out of hand every now and then. When there were attacks by the US forces against Iran, there were expectations that the conflict will draw on for longer, but they were stopped because Israel attacked the US base in Qatar. However, not much damage was inflicted, so both the sides took a few steps back. But the way the build-up has been happening, the way US has now gotten involved from the very beginning, we can expect the situation to become much more complicated in the near future. So all eyes will be on the retaliation that now comes in from Iran, but situation now moving much more closer than to a full-blown war that was feared for not just months but years now between these two adversaries.
Absolutely, situation looks grim, situation looks grave, but Amritpal, whatever has transpired in the last few hours between Israel, Iran and now US, Trump has also posted, in fact he has a video message also, we'll play that in a while. But again, what do we expect in the next few hours? Iranian authorities are also reportedly saying that they are preparing for retaliation. Situation is already out of hand. I mean, what do you expect in the next few hours? I mean, any solution, any resolution expected? Amritpal?
It is very clear that Iran will retaliate. What one wouldn't have to see is to what extent will Iran retaliate? Because Iran, will have to be seen to be retaliating for its own people. So I think it will depend. The next few hours will be crucial. We'll have to see whether it will be some sort of a limited operation like the last year, which it doesn't look like. The scale looks much bigger than last year, going by the reports that we are getting. But if the Iranians retaliate and the Americans and the Israelis want to keep it limited conflict, stop that, and then diplomacy kicks in and stops all few hours. So the next few hours are very crucial. But one thing is very clear: it's an upward spiral right now. Tensions are spilling over. What the outcome would be, what the scale would be, what the response from both sides would be.
All right, first reaction of US President Donald Trump. Let's show you the video message.
Time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. Its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted death to America and waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder, targeting the United States, our troops, and the innocent people in many, many countries. Among the regime's very first acts was to back a violent takeover of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, holding dozens of American hostages for 444 days. In 1983, Iran's proxies carried out the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut that killed 241 American military personnel. In 2000, they knew and were probably involved with the attack on the USS Cole. Many died. Iranian forces killed and maimed hundreds of American service members in Iraq. The regime's proxies have continued to launch countless attacks against American forces stationed in the Middle East in recent years, as well as U.S. naval and commercial vessels in international shipping lanes. It's been mass terror, and we're not going to put up with it any longer. From Lebanon to Yemen and Syria to Iraq, the regime has armed, trained, and funded terrorist militias that have soaked the earth with blood and guts. And it was Iran's proxy, Hamas, that launched the monstrous October 7th attacks on Israel, slaughtering more than 1,000 innocent people, including 46 Americans, while taking 12 of our citizens hostage. It was brutal, something like the world has never seen before. Iran is the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. and just recently killed tens of thousands of its own citizens on the street as they protested. It has always been the policy of the United States, in particular, my administration, that this terrorist regime can never have a nuclear weapon. I'll say it again, they can never have a nuclear weapon. That is why in Operation Midnight Hammer last June, we obliterated the regime's nuclear program at Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. After that attack, we warned them never to resume their malicious pursuit of nuclear weapons, and we sought repeatedly to make a deal. We tried. They wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. Again, they wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. They didn't know what was happening. They just wanted to practice evil. But Iran refused, just as it has for decades and decades. They've rejected every opportunity to renounce their nuclear ambitions, and we can't take it anymore. Instead, they attempted to rebuild their nuclear program and to continue developing long-range missiles that can now threaten our very good friends and allies in Europe, our troops stationed overseas, and could soon reach the American homeland. Just imagine how emboldened this regime would be if they ever had and actually were armed with nuclear weapons as a means to deliver their message. For these reasons, the United States military is undertaking a massive and ongoing operation to prevent this very wicked, radical dictatorship from threatening America and our core national security interests. We are going to...
Donald Trump's message, the president strongly criticizing Iran's actions, using the words bloodbath, Iran killing innocent people. Also said Iran is #1 state sponsor of terror. They can never have a nuclear weapon and we can't take them anymore. We are going to destroy their missiles. So this is what Donald Trump said, and we have DD India's Amritpal with us. Amritpal, in his video message, the president strongly criticized Iran's actions. Tell us what were the key allegations he made against Iran and how specific were they?
Donald Trump here, high on rhetoric, on flourishes, but did not give any immediate reason for immediate provocation for launching these strikes. Israel has called it preventive strikes. He's called it a major combat operation. Yeah. He repeated what he said in the State of the Union address, calling them the #1 sponsor of terrorism and saying they cannot have a nuclear weapon, they cannot have a nuclear bomb. He will destroy their missile programs. How the American troops who are posted in overseas and the Europeans who are their allies are under threat, and one day the Iranian missiles could reach the U.S. He said all that. So it was high on rhetoric, but the video message did not specify what imminent threat or what immediate provocation from Iran prompted U.S. and Israel to go in for this joint military action against Iran. Stopping their nuclear enrichment, stopping their missile program, etc., could be sorted out by talking. Even if the talks were not progressing the way the Americans wanted it to, but still they were on the table. But clearly, Donald Trump's long message, does not give out why they choose to strike. It's very clear that the Americans had made up their mind that they wanted to strike Iran. From what I can read from his message is that it could be possibly a strategy to weaken Iran, then renegotiate with a weakened Iran. Israel already knows what Akshay was saying, the Iranian assets and Hamas, Hezbollah, they have already been weakened. The Syrian regime is gone. Bashar al-Assad's regime is gone. So Iran's, assets around the world have reduced in that sense. its friends, like Russia, may not want to enter into the conflict straight away, though they may make, statements which are anti-American or supposedly support Iran, but putting boots on the ground, I don't think the Russians can afford, given that they have their own war and conflict going on in Europe. So, the Americans know this very well. The Israelis understand this, and I think it could be a part of a strategy to weaken Iran and then renegotiate with a weakened Iran. But all that depends upon how massive the operation is. If they want to take out the supreme leader, if they want to take out the Iranian president, then Iran will go all out. It will have its, if they are pushed against the wall, then, it could really escalate. So that's why I'm saying that depending upon how far this operation goes from both sides will determine what the outcome or what the future really would be. But Donald Trump's message really is, killing of protesters, having a nuclear program, enrichment program, missiles, all this is nothing new. There is no immediate provocation that he's listed out in his message. Abhishek?
Also, Akshay Dongre joins us again. Akshay, we just heard Donald Trump's video message strongly criticizing Iran's action. Also, how firm is his language, body language, if we see, also the choice of words he used?
Well, Abhishek, as our colleague Amritpal just pointed out, yes, there has been a lot of accusations. There has been a lot of rhetoric in this statement that has been given by Donald Trump, but no immediate cause for this action has been stated because all of these things that Donald Trump is now stating, he has repeatedly stated this again and again that even in his Union State address, he said that Iran remains the largest sponsor of terrorism. Since the 7th October attack, there have been tensions between Israel and Iran. There have been tensions between US and Iran for a very long time. But the reason for these strikes have not been specified. So that will raise a question, and the major other countries like China, like Russia, will obviously question this strike because you need to have a solid explanation to the world as well, that why are you striking a third country? Are you facing any existential threat? Are you facing any sort of a threat that is the reason why you have struck another country and struck it in a massive manner? What was the reason behind the preemptive strikes? Were there any threats given to Israel by Iran in the recent days? Was there any attack against Iran, imminent, that you have carried out such a preemptive strike? Because preemptive strikes are usually carried out if there is a war-like situation between two countries and tensions are escalating day by day, hour by hour, and then one country carries out preemptive strikes if they are faced with imminent threat to their sovereignty and to their people. But nothing of this sort has happened in the last few days. So that is going to raise a big question on this retaliation, or rather this preemptive strike. And now Iran can carry out as bigger attack against the Israeli targets as they want, even against the US targets, because US has now openly said that they have been involved in this attack as well, with Donald Trump now stating that, calling Iranian regime as evil, irrespective of the negotiations that already have been taking place. In fact, even just today, Donald Trump said that he was not happy with the negotiation. However, the Omani foreign minister was sounding optimistic as far as his mediation is concerned in bringing about a resolution to the tension that had been there. And 2 more rounds of talks were pending. But even before those talks, taking place, you have carried out this attack earlier. There were reports coming in that top officials of U.S. government will be visiting Israel, but now, given the fact that conflict has already started between the two, how much U.S. will be willing to send its own top officials to that battle-embroiled region. So, body language remains normal as far as his statement is concerned. He obviously seems attacking in his statement, but the reason of attack, that is perhaps one of the most important ones, has not been given by Donald Trump as far as this massive attack against Iran is concerned. And clearly, if there is a retaliation and there is a casualty of the U.S. personnel and forces that are there in the region, it is going to mount a massive political pressure on the U.S. government as well. That requirement for you to go on a war with a country that was not threatening our people, that was not threatening our territory, just to go ahead and support Israel in its own battle against Iran. So it's a gamble in a way that the Trump administration has played as far as getting involved directly in this conflict. But it remains to be seen that what kind of retaliation will be coming in from Iran, because it is most likely going to be much more larger than the last time they carried out against the U.S. Base in Qatar.
Absolutely. United States saying it's a full-scale combat operation. Israel saying preemptive strikes. No explanation also by the U.S. Expecting reactions from other global powers and nations too. Thank you, Akshay and Amritpal. But yes, we'll keep coming back to you. It's a developing story. We'll keep giving you updates on this. Thanks for watching. Namaskar.